Correlation of miasms affecting the third house with biochemic salts, Saturn placement, and Rahu, Ketu, Mercury aspects. When Saturn is placed in the third house, along with aspects from Rahu, Ketu, or Mercury, it influences the arms, hands, shoulders, and communication. The presence of miasmic influences such as Sycosis, Rahu, syphilis, Ketu, and Sora, Mercury, adds complexity, resulting in various physical and emotional imbalances. Below is a detailed analysis of how these factors interact and how biochemic salts can provide relief. Third house overview: body parts and functions. Arms, hands, shoulders, throat, hearing, physical strength, courage, speech, communication, and nervous system. Saturn's role. Saturn in the third house causes communication barriers, sluggish reflexes, stiffness in the shoulders and hands, and may reduce courage and stamina. It can lead to chronic issues affecting the nerves, speech, and mobility of the upper body. Rahu's influence: Sycosis miasm, chronic inflammation, excess growth, stagnation in movement, swollen joints, thick secretions affecting communication, compulsive thinking. Ketu's influence: destruction, degeneration, nerve pain, deformities, mental despair, speech issues, ulcers, and joint degeneration. Mercury's influence: Sora miasm, hypersensitivity, chronic nervous tension, mental restlessness, issues with communication, recurring respiratory issues, coughs, throat infections, and weakness in the arms and shoulders. Impact of Sycosis, Rahu in the third house. Symptoms: chronic inflammation affecting the shoulders, arms, and hands, stiffness in joints, excessive mucus production in the throat, stagnation in communication, compulsive thinking patterns, and chronic respiratory issues. Saturn's role. Saturn slows recovery, intensifying chronic inflammation in the arms and shoulders, leading to restricted movement and persistent joint problems. It also suppresses communication, causing speech difficulties. Cell salt remedies. Kali myrrh helps clear mucus from the throat, reducing chronic respiratory issues caused by psychosis. It also supports the healing of swollen joints in the arms and shoulders. Ferrum phos enhances oxygenation, reducing inflammation and pain in the upper body, especially in the early stages of joint inflammation or respiratory issues. Nat sulph aids in clearing excess fluids and mucus from the body, reducing chronic inflammation in the joints and respiratory system, which is worsened by Rahu's influence. Emotional, physical relief. These salts alleviate chronic inflammation, reduce stiffness in the arms and shoulders, and help restore clear communication by addressing respiratory and joint issues. Impact of syphilis, Ketu, in the third house. Symptoms: degeneration of the arms, hands, and shoulders, nerve pain, speech problems, ulcers in the throat, joint deformities, mental despair, and self-destructive communication patterns. Saturn's role. Saturn slows healing, intensifying joint degeneration and chronic nerve pain. It also exacerbates issues related to speech and communication by causing mental blocks and stiffness in the upper body. Cell salt remedies. Calc fluor strengthens the joints and connective tissue, countering the degenerative effects of syphilis. It helps restore flexibility in the arms and shoulders and alleviates nerve pain. Silicea promotes the healing of slow-healing wounds and nerve tissue, helping with chronic infections or ulcers in the throat, and supports overall nerve health. Calc phos helps with joint degeneration, especially in the arms and shoulders, and aids in rebuilding bone and tissue structure affected by Ketu's destructive tendencies. Emotional, physical relief. These salts help repair tissue, reduce nerve pain, strengthen the joints, and alleviate destructive communication patterns, allowing for improved flexibility and speech. Impact of Sora Mercury in the third house. Symptoms: hypersensitivity in the arms and shoulders, recurring throat infections, chronic coughs, nervous tension, mental restlessness, and weakness in communication and physical strength. Digestive and respiratory issues may also affect communication. Saturn's role. Saturn slows recovery from chronic respiratory and nerve issues, leading to long-standing problems in communication and mental restlessness. Weakness in the arms and hands may worsen, leading to difficulties in handling tasks requiring physical strength. Cell salt remedies. Nat myrrh regulates water balance, helping with respiratory issues and dry throat or excessive mucus production. It also assists in managing hypersensitivity, anxiety, and mental restlessness affecting speech. Kali Phos, a nerve tonic that helps relieve mental strain, nervous tension, and anxiety related to communication. It stabilizes the nervous system, improving speech and mental clarity. Mag Phos relieves muscle and nerve pain in the arms and shoulders and helps with cramping or tension. It also assists in managing stress-induced speech difficulties. Emotional physical relief. These salts address hypersensitivity in the arms and shoulders, reduce chronic respiratory issues, and help calm mental restlessness, allowing for better communication and physical strength. General summary. Saturn in the third house slows recovery in communication and the upper body, leading to chronic issues affecting the arms, hands, and shoulders. Rahu, Sycosis, intensifies chronic inflammation, stiffness, and compulsive thinking, while Ketu, Syphilis, causes degeneration and destructive tendencies in communication, leading to joint and nerve pain. Mercury, Sora, brings hypersensitivity, chronic respiratory issues, and mental restlessness. By using Kali Mur, Ferrum Phos, Nat Sulf, Calc Fluor, Silicea, Calc Phos, Nat Mur, Kali Phos, and Mag Phos, these issues can be alleviated, providing relief from inflammation, nerve pain, respiratory problems, and mental restlessness affecting communication and physical strength. Correlation of miasms affecting the fourth house with biochemic salts, Saturn placement, and Rahu Ketu Mercury aspects. When Saturn is placed in the fourth house, along with aspects from Rahu, Ketu, or Mercury, it influences the chest, lungs, heart, emotions, and psychological well-being. The presence of miasmic influences such as Sycosis, Rahu, Syphilis, Ketu, and Sora, Mercury, adds complexity to these areas, manifesting in various physical and emotional imbalances. Below is a detailed analysis of how these factors interact and how biochemic salts can alleviate the effects. Now, fourth house overview. Body parts and functions: chest, lungs, breasts, heart, emotional well-being, psychological stability, happiness, water retention, and respiratory health. Saturn's role. Saturn in the fourth house can lead to emotional suppression, chronic lung and heart issues, and coldness in emotional expression. It also affects respiratory health, causing breathing issues and chronic emotional burden. Rahu's influence: Sycosis, miasm, chronic inflammation, excessive mucus production, respiratory infections, emotional stagnation, overgrowth, e.g. polyps in the lungs or throat, and emotional compulsiveness. Ketu's influence: syphilis, miasm, destruction of lung tissue, emotional breakdown, ulcers, degeneration of the chest area, nervous system issues, and psychological despair. Mercury's influence: hypersensitivity to emotions, chronic coughs, respiratory weakness, recurring lung infections, and nervous tension affecting the heart and emotional state. Impact of Sycosis, Rahu, in the fourth house. Symptoms: chronic respiratory inflammation, excessive mucus production, bronchitis or asthma, emotional compulsiveness, and stagnation in emotional expression. There may also be a tendency for water retention and issues with the lungs or heart. Saturn's role. Saturn slows recovery from chronic respiratory conditions, intensifies emotional suppression, and causes stagnation in emotional expression, making it difficult to deal with emotional stress. Cell salt remedies. Kali Mur helps clear thick mucus in the lungs, reducing chronic respiratory issues like bronchitis or asthma caused by psychosis. It also aids in the detoxification of the respiratory system and relieves emotional stagnation. Ferrum Phos boosts oxygenation and helps reduce inflammation in the lungs and chest area. It supports the immune system in fighting chronic infections, easing respiratory problems. Nat Sulf aids in reducing excess fluid in the lungs and supports liver detoxification, which can alleviate water retention and emotional stagnation linked to Rahu's influence. Emotional physical relief. These salts can alleviate chronic respiratory issues, reduce mucus buildup, and improve emotional balance by addressing respiratory stagnation and emotional suppression. Impact of syphilis, Ketu, in the fourth house. Symptoms: destruction of lung or chest tissue, emotional breakdown, nervous tension affecting the heart and chest area, ulcers, psychological despair, and respiratory degeneration. Saturn's role. Saturn exacerbates degenerative respiratory and emotional issues, causing chronic lung infections and emotional coldness. The healing process is slow, and emotional burdens can manifest physically in the chest and lungs. Cell salt remedies. Calc Fluor strengthens lung tissue and connective tissues in the chest area, helping counteract degeneration. It supports flexibility in the chest and alleviates chronic respiratory problems. Sycosis promotes the healing of slow-healing tissues and chronic lung issues, particularly infections or degenerative conditions in the chest. It also helps manage emotional burdens that manifest as respiratory issues. Occupies supports tissue regeneration and helps with chest and bone health, particularly in cases of degeneration in the lungs or emotional stress affecting the respiratory system. Emotional physical relief. These salts help repair lung tissue, relieve emotional and physical degeneration, and restore emotional stability. They support recovery from chronic infections and emotional despair linked to syphilis. Impact of Sora, Mercury, in the 4th house. Symptoms: chronic sensitivity in the lungs and chest, recurring coughs, asthma, emotional hypersensitivity, anxiety and nervous tension affecting the heart and chest area. Digestive issues may also exacerbate respiratory and emotional problems. Saturn's role. Saturn slows down the recovery from chronic respiratory issues, leading to long-term emotional and physical sensitivity. Hypersensitivity in the emotional and respiratory systems may worsen, causing anxiety and emotional strain. Cell salt remedies. Nat Mur regulates water balance, helping with emotional suppression and water retention. It also assists with respiratory issues like dryness or excessive mucus production, which are common in Sora. A nerve tonic that helps ease emotional strain, anxiety, and nervous tension in the heart and chest area. It can calm the mind and alleviate stress-induced respiratory problems. Magfos relieves muscle tension in the chest and helps with nervous-induced coughs or respiratory cramps. It also helps manage stress and anxiety affecting the heart and emotional state. Emotional physical relief. These salts address hypersensitivity in the lungs and chest, calm emotional tension, and help relieve chronic respiratory issues. They restore emotional balance and improve psychological stability. General summary. Saturn in the 4th house slows down emotional and respiratory recovery, causing chronic issues in the lungs, chest, and emotional well-being. Rahu, Sycosis, intensifies chronic inflammation, mucus buildup, and emotional compulsiveness, while Ketu, syphilis, leads to degeneration and emotional breakdown, affecting lung health and psychological stability. Mercury, Sora, brings hypersensitivity, chronic respiratory issues, and emotional anxiety. By using Kali Mur, Ferrumphos, Nat Sulf, Calc Fluor, Silicea, Calcphos, Nat Mur, Caliphos, and Magphos, these issues can be alleviated, providing relief from respiratory conditions, emotional suppression, and psychological strain affecting the chest and lungs.